Hello, and welcome to Click Fraud Recognition and Prevention. My name is Evan Holder. I'm a student at Full Sail University, and this presentation will cover click fraud, how to recognize it, and how to prevent your company from suffering from it. So let's get started. First of all, you may need to ask yourself, well, what is click fraud? Well, very simply, click fraud is the illicit manipulation of keyword-based advertising. It's a serious issue in the world of pay-per-click and paid advertising online. It's really can affect your campaigns, and it typically happens when third parties generate invalid clicks on paid advertising links to drive up your advertising costs. And they do this with no intention of doing business with you. It's just a malicious act to either drive you off of a search engine or to drive up your cost. So you may want to ask yourself, well, who's doing this to me? Who are the offenders? Um, well, mostly they look like this at their computer. Well, not really. They can do this by manual means that are people at computers clicking through your links, or they can do this actually by bots that go out automatically that are programs and will scour your links. But the three main classes that will do this are, first of all, your competitors that will raise your pay-per-click cost by just clicking through your paid links. And their main reason for this is because typically you're going to set a daily, monthly budget for your pay-per-click costs. So once your budget is exhausted, your ads are going to no longer appear on Google or whatever search engine you're using. So your competitor has a great advantage if they can sit there and just click through your links. They will eventually drive you off of Google, and then they can take your place as the advertiser. The second group is your site owners, the people that are actually hosting your ads. They'll click through web ads on their own sites to make their sites more appealing for placement. This is in terms of like AdSense or something like that. If they can show that they have more traffic, then they're going to be more appealing for you to put your ads on. And also, for the much more malicious reasons, they can typically just make money by clicking through ads. Google AdSense kind of has an intuitive way of blocking the IP address of people that are actually hosting the web. But let's say that your company and website is hosted at a corporate location. Well, if you're at home on your own laptop, you could click through ads on your own website and make money. And some of the high cost search words, you're going to be making $10 per click, as well as making money for Google. And the third most innocent offender is actually your customers. Um, some people who are not very internet savvy use paid ads as their main access to your website. Instead of bookmarking your site or using the URL bar and just typing it in, they're going to go to Google or go to Yahoo, search for your site, and they're going to click on the paid ad that comes on the top instead of the organic search result. So every time they access your website, they're actually costing you money. So, that being said, how can you protect yourself? Um, well, you could hire these guys. They go door to door, find these people clicking. Here, their hourly rates are really good. But aside from that, um, Google and the other pay-per-click providers do offer their own protection. So you're not necessarily financially liable, but it's very akin to almost fraud protection on a credit card. Most credit card companies are not going to hold you liable for um, bogus charges. They're going to refund those charges, but it's going to happen after the fact. The protection that Google and the pay-per-click providers is very similar to this. They monitor for fraudulent activity, and they're not going to charge you for false clicks, but it's after these false clicks have already happened. Therefore, if your competitor is successful at getting you off of Google for the day or for the month by exhausting your budget, Google will refund your budget, but they're never going to be able to give you back that lost time that you've had by not being on the website because of the click fraud that your competitor has done against you. Therefore, you must monitor your own analytics. If you have somebody in-house that's monitoring your own analytics, looking for certain things, they can report it to Google much more quickly, and it's going to be somebody dedicated looking out for you as opposed to Google, who's watching out for everybody that advertises on them. You should also keep an eye on your competitors, see what keywords they're using, just to be aware of who's in your segment and who might be possible culprits. And also for ad placement, you need to target high quality sites, because the low quality sites are much more often involved in the click fraud activities that I was describing, as by, they're basically making a website just to farm ads, just to make money. So if they have a website, that somebody made, they can sit there on their laptop, just click through ads on their own website to make $10 to $20 per click if it's a high value search word or high value ad. Therefore, target high quality sites only. And last but not least, you can always employ third-party services to monitor and stop click fraud. One of these is AdWatcher, and I'll go over that later in this presentation. So, if you're monitoring your own analytics, there's ways to recognize click fraud. First and foremost, you want to look for unusual peaks in impressions. So if you're looking at your analytics and you see that all of a sudden you have a very big spike and it's the number of impressions you're getting, people searching for that keyword that's unusual, um, that's one way. That in and of itself could be a good thing if it was organic and it was just a peak, but sometimes it can be click fraud. Another thing you want to see is, with those impressions, are you getting an unusual peak in a number of clicks over a certain amount of time? Again, either of these things by themselves would actually be good things for your website, but if you see it in an unusual way, like it spikes incredibly in just the amount of an hour or 2 hours, that's going to be kind of a red flag. And the big thing that will tip the hat that it is fraud is if during these peaks there's no increase in conversions. So you're just seeing an increase in your number of clicks and a number of increases in your impressions, but no conversions during that same peak time. Another thing that you could look for is the drop in number of views during the peaks in impressions or clicks. So if they're just going to your site and not clicking through pages, it's just looking at a single page and going away, that's another thing to look for. And related to that is also a higher bounce rate. So if they're clicking through your ad and then going right back to the search engine, so they're not staying on your site for any amount of time, all of these things are definitely things to look for to recognize click fraud. So you may want to ask yourself, how are some other ways to prevent this other than doing it myself? One of the things that I mentioned was AdWatcher, and there are many benefits to AdWatcher, and there are several other companies that provide click fraud monitoring or click fraud protection. Some of those in my research seem just as untrustworthy as click fraud preventers themselves. They had very unprofessional looking websites. However, AdWatcher looked like it was a very good source and a very good company to work with. They offer advanced fraud detection, and they use a proprietary algorithm that they embed in your site that tracks every single click on your website. So once you subscribe to them and give them their fees, they're going to give you this code that you embed in your own website that's going to allow you to track every single click. They also offer you to deter fraud up front with what they call Fraud Blocker. This allows you, the advertiser, or your company, to actually set up and craft unique pop-up messages that warn people who are possibly committing fraud that are being tracked. Now, people that are committing click fraud actually serve to lose a lot. They can be banned from Google, those IP addresses can be wiped, things like that, if they're reported as doing this practice. So if they're warned up front that they are being tracked, then they're typically going to leave your link alone and they'll move on to someone else. Again, this technology will allow you, the advertiser, to set what limits you want before these messages appear. So that leaves the control in your hands. They also offer great things such as traffic spike analysis. So they're going to monitor those different peaks and impressions and clicks that I was talking about. They also offer geo-tracking, so they're going to let you look at where those clicks are coming from, which is very important because if you're a local business that really does not do national or international business, for example, if you're hosted in Orlando, Florida, and you see that your clicks are coming from Seattle, Washington, or somewhere in Asia, you're probably going to be aware those are fraudulent clicks if the business that you run is a small, let's say, local flower shop. And they also provide cross-channel monitoring, which is they're going to be able to look at your clicks across many different um, channels like Google, Yahoo, Bing, whomever else you're advertising with, not just concentrate on one search engine or the other. And the best thing about this is just like a credit card fraud prevention, they're going to give you an instant email update of anything that's a suspected fraudulent activity. So therefore, the advertiser, whoever's monitoring this within your company, will receive updates saying, hey, we think this is happening, and you can immediately shut it down or have them shut it down for you. So, all that sounds great, but a big part of hiring any third-party company is, of course, cost. So how much does AdWatcher cost? Well, AdWatcher gives you two options for basically employing them. If they host your website, not necessarily your website, but if they host their software and monitor your website, their cost is basically $30 a month. You see they're $29.95, and that monitors up to 5,000 clicks. The maximum level you can get is $169.95 a month, so basically $170 a month, and that monitors up to 250,000 clicks. Now, if they're hosting their software, you can subscribe for, as you can see, they were a 3 month or a year amount of time for either a 15% or a 25% savings if you sign up for a bulk all at once. The also more lucrative option is if you download their software and you host it yourself and have somebody monitor um, these things using their software in-house. As you can see, the price is $30 a month, basically $29.95. That bumps you up to the $25,000 click level, and for just $20 more a month, only $50 a month, it's unlimited amount of clicks if you're doing it all in-house and download their software. And as you can see there, the yearly savings are much greater for unlimited clicks. It's only 550, or excuse me, 450 a year, as opposed to almost 1,500 a year. So that's a pretty big savings. So, in closing, I hope you learned a lot about click fraud. If you want any more reading, here are some great references. These are some of the references, or excuse me, all the references that I sourced for creating this presentation. There's a lot more information on any of these links if you want to click through there. So I'll leave this slide up for a second. Okay, thank you for listening, and thank you for watching. Have a good day.